This is Martin Giles of the Guildford Dragon News, and today I'm with the Council Leader of Guildford Borough Council, Jos Bigmore. Good afternoon, Jos. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you very much. Right, so this interview came out of a telephone conversation we had yesterday, where we discussed briefly a range of subjects, and I thought it would be a good idea to cover them in an interview, where because I think they will be of interest to our readers. Now there is a range, and we've only got so much time, so we can't dig into them too far. But let's start off with the top of the list, which is the county deal proposal. And I don't know if you had a chance to see the interview with the Surrey County Council leader, etc. But I'd be interested to know, he said that the proposal had been distributed to all the borough councillors as well as the county councillors. And of course, you've got this role on the borough council board, so to speak, in Surrey. So it'd be interesting to know, what's your view of this proposal?
I think you can look at it in two ways. I mean, I'm someone that takes someone at face value until they prove otherwise. And I wasn't really in the middle of what happened last year. I understand there's a bad feeling between the county and the boroughs about the unitary and the way it was done last year.
So we're talking about last year's proposal.
Yeah, but this county deal,
a single unitary for Surrey. Yeah.
Exactly. But this county deal is not that. This is something very different. I mean, as you know, as Tim said in your interview, he invited me to the meeting with the MHCLG to discuss the Ministry of Housing, local government, although it's not called that anymore.
No,
they're not. It's now the Ministry for Levelling Up or something. But anyway, unitary was not mentioned. This is an attempt whereby we can get more powers within Surrey from central government. Now, you can look at it two ways. It's like, the county are trying to take power. Well, it's fair enough, but they're taking power from central government. It is taking powers closer to the residents of Surrey. That has to be, if you take the politics out of it, that has to be a good thing, Martin. Now, obviously, there is a great deal of mistrust and what might happen next. What role will the districts and boroughs play? But, the government wants county deals, not districts and borough deals. It will be then up to the county and the districts and boroughs to work out what to do with any new powers that we may or may not get, to deliver the best service for the residents. And that's something we do all day long. There are strategic relationships between districts and boroughs and central government, and if you take one of those pieces out, i.e. central government, it's going to get smoother if it's just us and the county. So if you take the politics away and you clean slate it, I think there's potential for this to be a good thing for the residents of the county. Now, if you're very political about it and you think, this is just a power grab by the Conservatives in the county council, you can put that spin on it. But at the moment, I don't think there's enough information to opine either way. And from my personal experience of dealing with Councillor Oliver, he's never given me any reason to distrust him. I think, what happened last year, I don't think he would have done that on his own, in Kingston, to come up with a single unitary idea. He had to have some sort of encouragement from somewhere, I would have thought. I mean, as I said, I wasn't really there.
Presumably means central government.
Yeah, and I'm very conscious. I'm very conscious at the time that it kind of all fell apart, and he was kind of left holding the baby. There was a change in one of the junior ministers. I think
he was obviously angry at the time that it appeared that he felt he'd been undermined
and I think there was a change in minister from Simon Clark to Luke Hall, and then suddenly it all fell to bits. So I mean, I don't know what happens in those. I don't really want to know what happens in those within the Conservative Party and what goes on. But from that point on, and my dealings since I've been leader and chairing Surrey leaders, dealings with Tim have been very professional. I think he's got some quite interesting ideas to make Surrey better for residents, and that has to be in conjunction with the boroughs and districts. So I'm open-minded at the moment.
Okay,
but I understand why people are cautious.
Well, some of those people are in the independent group at Surrey County Council, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, there was
also within R4GV, I think, too.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I mean, the independent groups are broad churches. I mean, I prefer to make my own decisions about what people are like, and that comes from my own personal experience of dealing with them. Now, there are so many misrepresentations, mischief, and outright lies in politics that I don't think, just because someone says something about somebody, I'd rather work out myself from my own experience of dealing with them. And I'm telling you from my personal experience, I'm willing to give this county deal a chance and give it an open mind and work well with the county to try and deliver the best for the residents of Surrey.
Okay, well, that's clear. So are you worried at all that it could compromise the lower tier authorities' power on planning, for instance?
I think there's risk and there's opportunity. Every borough and district is struggling with the local plan process. I mean, I had an email from 4 very concerned councillors in Mole Valley that is just going through their local plan process, pleading with Guildford to take more housing from Mole Valley. I mean, it's a ridiculous system. Now, if there is, and I think in the county deal document, there is talk of having a non-statutory kind of role for the county above. And if that means we look across the whole county as opposed to just individual boroughs, and we look at a slightly larger scale, you may be able to come up with better solutions that actually deliver proper benefits, regenerate the right areas, and not just put houses where we don't need them. So I think there is a potential, benefit to looking holistically at Surrey when it comes to planning, as opposed to doing borough by borough. However, obviously, there is also a risk, that we may have less power less control over our own planning. And I mean, those detailed conversations have not happened yet. So as I said, you can make your own conclusions, but for me, there is not enough information yet to opine whether this is a good or a bad thing. And obviously, as with everything, there is risk and there is opportunity, and we just need to make sure that we just deliver together the best thing for the residents of the county.
Okay, and is my judgment fair, do you think, that the signs are that it's unlikely the Surrey bid will succeed this time round?
I really don't know. I mean, the word I've heard is there may only be 2 in the initial pilot across the whole country. Given levelling up, you'd assume one of those is in the north at least. So I don't know, but I think it is necessary for Surrey as a county, and that's all residents, parishes, boroughs, districts, the county, to make sure Surrey gets its fair deal out of levelling up, because we have huge inequalities within the county, between East and West Surrey, between North and South Guildford, enormous inequality. And that's something that we need to shout and we need to be very loud about. And if we're all infighting, that is not going to happen.
Okay. Now, we often get accused of only covering bad news. So here's a couple of good bits of news. First of all, I think anyway, there may be mixed views on it. Car free day, how did that go?
For me, I'm obviously going to say this, I thought it was wonderful. And I've received quite a few emails from people that said they had a really good time. I've obviously received some that said, you didn't close enough roads, it was Surrey Half Marathon, what a silly day to have it. It's like, look, there's always going to be something where we could have done something better. It's the first time we've done this. For me, the absolute highlight was the closure of the Upper High Street, where you can just stroll down the road. And it was like, this is actually really nice for a part of town that's struggling. It's like, this is really nice. It's vibrant. I think having more music. I mean, we're blessed with some really talented buskers on a normal day, but having, live music, the rock choir out, it was just lots of people smiling, kids, all ages. It was just a really nice community day. And I think, it did give people, a little glimpse of the future. If we get pedestrianisation right, and if we can to find some good traffic solutions, there's some really good wins that we can do in that town centre area. And I think that's just to give people that sow that little seed about what might be possible.
Okay, well, I think a lot of people would agree with you, especially about the Upper High Street. North Street didn't look so good though, did it?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, North Street, we had to keep half of the road open because, I mean, we all know that the transport network is incredibly constrained in Guildford, and we didn't want to do too much the first year. So it was very, very piece by piece. We worked very closely with the county council, and I have to say thank you to Councillor Furness and the highways team at the county for working with us to do something meaningful without being too risky the first time we did it. And I think next time we can definitely do better on North Street. We can have more stalls. It's just one of those things that you don't want it to be one and only because you've been too ambitious and you're never going to do it again. So I think this is something to build on, and that I think there was nearly 25,000 people in town on Sunday, and that would have been the majority of residents, I would have thought. I doubt people made the journey from too far away to come and enjoy a car-free day in Guildford. So I think it was, I think it was really good. I love the mural under Tunsgate as well. That was, kids were painting a kind of scene of Guildford, and I think that's going to be displayed in GU Art on Swan Lane.
Good. Okay. Well, obviously, a lot of people enjoyed themselves. I think that was self-evident, and be interesting to see how the idea progresses now in future years. Now, the Archbishop's visit. We don't often get a visit from the Archbishop of Canterbury, and I understand that you were part of an audience at one of the events. Is that right?
Yeah, I actually had to follow him with a speech, Martin, and I must have had far easier acts to follow. So I was invited by Claire Suggett to the Town Centre Forum Business Breakfast at the Yvonne Arnault on Monday, where the Archbishop spoke about business ethics and a bit about his own kind of career, which is, I mean, I could have listened to him for hours. I live my life by Christian values, but I wouldn't describe myself as a regular churchgoer or overly religious. I thought he was incredibly impressive, just the gravitas he had, you know, the kind of life experience. I mean, he used to be a corporate treasurer of an oil company to then become Archbishop of Canterbury. I mean, it was a progressive choice by the church, I think, at the time. And yeah, he just exuded leadership. And I think that's something that society lacks at the moment at a national level. And I think everyone left thinking, you know, kind of, wow, you know, a real leader. So it was an hour well spent, and I thank Claire Suggett for inviting me. Although I have to say, after he spoke, I stood up, and there was I thought half the audience were going to get up and leave, but I think I managed to keep them for 5 minutes. But yeah, it was really impressive.
Okay, now city status. It seems to be that the council is considering applying for it again, and we've had several failed attempts. What is the state of play?
So we entered kind of the competition for city states in 2000 and 2002 and failed both times. There is an opportunity for towns to bid for city status as part of the celebrations for the Queen's Jubilee next year. So we are currently engaging everybody to say, what do you think? Because, you know, this should be about Guildford. It's not about Guildford Borough Council. It's not about my leadership or R4GV or you know, any political party. It's about, right, does the community, are we a city already, and do we want the name? Because I believe we are. I think we've got everything you need. I think we've got a wonderful community. You know, the university just kicking out all sorts of amazing R&D. You know, it just feels like we're there. We have the heritage, we have the culture, and it's just, you know, I'd really like to, you know, leave the trials of the last 18 months and just kind of signal kind of almost like a renaissance for Guildford. We have an enormous amount of very, you know, important projects coming with North Street, with, you know, the Debenhams building, the Town Centre master plan. There's a real positive story for Guildford coming out of what has been a pretty dark couple of years. And I think that, you know, this, yeah, I mean, it's a long shot probably. I mean, you know, there's a lot of towns go for this every time, but I really think that you know, Guildford deserves it. And I would like to have a go. So if we you know, we get the support from the community, then I'm sure that the council will back the decision to go for a bid. We're not going to spend a huge amount of money on it. I've already had probably enough offers of support from the private sector. That means we can probably do this for nothing in terms of council budget. Okay,
you forestalled my next question. But of course, there is another really important question, and that is, what is Guildford City Football Club going to call themselves? I mean, they won't be out of Guildford City anymore. They'll have to call themselves something like Guildford Metropolis or something.
Or Guildford City Squared or something like that. I'm not sure, but no, okay. I think, you know, we also have. I think we have Guildford City Boxing Club, and we have Guildford City Swimming. So I mean, you know, we have. That's
the reason to apply.
There is tangible benefits to marketing, and tangible benefits to inward investment. You know, the university would get a big boost from people that look to universities in cities. Obviously, tourism. You know, and then there's also the civic pride and just getting people a bit of town spirit.
It will make Eric Parker's quote on the Holy Trinity correct, you know, where he said Guildford is a beautiful city. So that's dealt with that one. And then lastly, it's an old chestnut, but it keeps coming up in our comments, and that's the situation with the local plan review.
Yeah.
So what is the situation?
Well, the local plan review, as we've said on numerous times, has started. It started as soon as the A3 works widening works were cancelled, there was an inbuilt review kicked in to review what would happen with the transport evidence base. So the local plan is reviewed all the time. What people want is an update of the local plan, which means the local plan will be changed. A review in itself achieves nothing. What we need to do, and what people want us to do, and what we want to do, is update the local plan in light of evidence. Now, we obviously need to, gather that evidence and then apply it to show that the current local plan is out of date. And then we have to go through the process, which is a consultation, it is examination, it is a long process. Now, to be clear, I go to the Horsleys pretty much every day because my son's at school there and he played cricket there all summer. I can see what's happening to those villages. I can see what's happening in Ash. I can see the consequences of this local plan. To be clear, this is fully expected by the people that designed it. The early years delivery of housing was predicated on the inset villages and Ash and Garlick's Arch, because the big strategic sites would not come online quick enough. So what is happening now was entirely predictable. And it is, those villages are changing. And I understand the anger and the upset in those villages, but to change it is impossible. We cannot declare a moratorium on planning. Everyone would just apply for non-determination, go to the inspectorate, and it would cost us a fortune to lose appeals. So that is just not an option. So we are doing everything we can as quickly as we can, but this is a long process. We keep reiterating that. And I'm sorry, I cannot tell people there is a quick win here, but there is not. Our hands are tied by the processes we have to follow. And we are working energetically to try and do this, but it is not quick enough for people. And I fully understand that. I met the chairs of the East and West Horsley Parish Councils last month to explain this and say, look, we are doing what we can, but we do not have degrees of freedom. The people that say, look, the housing numbers are wrong, we've just had a census, use the new housing numbers. We can only use the housing numbers that the government tells us, which is 2014 they use. Now, there is a new planning document coming out. The previous consultation said our housing numbers going up. Now, what Michael Gove decides to do, I assume because Robert Jenrick has been defenestrated, that there may be some U-turn coming in planning because of obviously the Chesham and Amersham by-election was a disaster for the Conservatives. Who knows what's going to happen? But we are doing everything we can to make positive changes to the local plan. But bear in mind, the local plan took 10 years and £3 million. I cannot flip a coin on this overnight and change it. So I'm sorry to sound a little bit exasperated, but I want to deliver things as quickly as possible. That is not tomorrow. And we are doing everything we can. And as I said, I can see and feel the pain of the people living in those villages because they're changing in front of their eyes.
Thank you. So what do you say to the likes of Sir Paul Beresford, who says that, that they've been given assurances, verbal assurances, that the number won't go up?
As I said to you earlier, I had an email from 5 councillors in Mole Valley that live close to the Effingham border saying, please, can we use some of your sites in Effingham for our local plan? So I guess Sir Paul Beresford and Julie Isles and all of that crew, I don't know whether they promised anything in Mole Valley, which is their constituency, because the Mole Valley District and Borough Council is struggling under the weight of the housing numbers. So it's just all talk. It's just all talk, Martin. It's tawdry and it's boring, to be honest with you. It's unfair to the people living in those villages because it's just not the truth.
Right. And you put the blame for this situation squarely on the previous administration.
Not at all. It's they had to deliver housing. They have to deliver housing just like every borough and district. Where they chose to do it, that's their decision. And the electorate told them they were wrong. That's why there's only 9 of them left.
Where is the responsibility? The central government?
Yeah, right. Obviously. I mean, central government says you have to. Central government says you have to build a certain number of houses. The previous administration decided to have a strategic site greenbelt-led local plan. That was their decision, and that is, in my mind, wrong. We said it was wrong. We're elected. They were kicked out. And that's so. Yes, they have blame in where they chose to put the housing. But they had no control over the numbers they had to provide.
Okay. Well, you've spoken very clearly there and very bluntly, really. So thank you very much. And it would be good if we can have these kind of reviews regularly. I think personally, I find them useful, and it would be interesting to see what the reaction of our readers is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin.